The blue planet, our planet, the Earth, provides the basis for all life on it, the basis for all our lives. Fertile soil, clear water, and pure air. Our planet supplies everything we humans and all other living creatures require. Earth, water, and air are available in abundant quantities, and these vital materials make it possible for us to enjoy our lives. But idyllic scenes like these are getting harder and harder to find these days. Clean water, fertile soil, and pure air. These vital substances, these precious resources, are gravely imperiled. We all know this. But what are we doing to protect our beloved environment? Millions of tons of rubbish, exhaust gases, and wastewater are beginning to devour our vital basic elements. This increase in environmental pollution has been justifiably called the greatest social problem of all times. Many private and government organizations, such as the United Nations, have taken on this problem and are attempting to apply a vast array of different methods to halt the progress of environmental pollution. Also, NATO, the Western Defense Alliance, is taking the danger of environmental catastrophe very seriously.
You are members of a very successful alliance. In fact, you have been the ones who defended our freedom, who ensured peace over the last 40 years. I'm grateful for that. You can be proud of that. But of course, prosperity creates problems, problems for our environment. You are interested that your children can live in an order which is worth defending. So I count on your personal support to protect the environment, and I know I can trust you.
But it is not just NATO which must undertake an examination of the ecological factor of their military activities. The NATO Environmental Protection Committee, in conjunction with its defense commitment, has taken on the challenge of accomplishing its missions with a minimum of stress on the environment. Each individual member of the armed forces, whatever his native country, is responsible, as a citizen in uniform, to do his part for a cleaner environment. Every drop of hazardous liquid can pollute water. A single quart of oil is enough to pollute 250,000 gallons of drinking water. That is enough to supply 500,000 people for a day. This is why it is important to handle hazardous materials properly.
No, not here. Pour it over there.
For example, used oil always belongs in specially provided containers. But please, pour carefully. Do not spill any liquid. Defective or leaking batteries are also a danger to the environment. Therefore, they have to be handled carefully. The point is, hazardous materials must be handled properly. Some can be recycled, which not only saves a lot of money, but more importantly, it helps to protect the environment. Anyone who is not sure which materials are or are not hazardous need only ask his supervisor or military community environmental officer. All these materials are hazardous substances whose use and disposal must be controlled. This is why they should be handled with special care. Aircraft fueling operations on NATO bases involve the annual transfer of millions of gallons of fuel necessary to support sorties for the common defense. Quick and effective response in the rare event of fuel spillage ensures protection of both surface water and groundwater supplies, in addition to protection of the aircraft and nearby facilities from explosion and fire.
Zero is on scene. Be advised, I have a Class 2 fuel spill. Aircraft 460, spot 34. Control 10, I'm going to need water and waste on scene to assist with cleaning the spill.
All spilled fuel, regardless of quantity, has a potential to adversely pollute streams and eventually contaminate drinking water supplies. This scenario demonstrated proper response actions by many different players to ensure both the environment is protected and NATO aircraft keep flying to support the NATO mission. The air we breathe is another priceless treasure we must protect. Careless use of the accelerator robs us of the very air we breathe and senselessly takes away our energy sources.
Niet goed staat afgesteld, dan krijgen we te veel roet in de lucht. Nou, we hebben daar een apparaat voor zitten om dat te controleren of dat goed staat afgesteld, die begrenzer. Nou, deze kant op.
In short, oxygen in our lungs is more important than putting the pedal to the metal.
Want u weet reeds dat als wij op het gaspedaal trappen, dat de helixen verdraaien en dat dan wat meer brandstof op.
The right kind of preparation can also serve to improve the air we breathe. Engines should be adjusted to produce a minimum of exhaust fumes. Driving skills, especially heavy-tracked vehicles, must be learned. Careful mission planning, in this case in cooperation with local officials, can often avoid all kinds of damage. Sensible driving means observing speed limits, moving quickly but intelligently through small towns. And if, despite your very best efforts, you still have to stop for an extended period of time, then always shut off your engine. When service members have to spend long periods of time out in the open, then Mother Nature has to be prepared for the worst. Or does she? Is this really necessary?
Don't nail it in. Take the nail out.
Part of the mansion.
Put it in on the twig over there. Just hang it up on that.
So which is all in the top.
Yeah.
So he turns around to his guests and he says, I've got a shark-infested pool outside.
The call of nature can also represent a hazard to our forest. Here as well, a forest is the natural habitat of plants and animals. It is not a public convenience. If there's no chemical toilet available, then a shovel must be used to conceal the operation.
And there's this other joke about the same one I just said. You know, through the 3 doors.
Yeah.
And just stand there like doing nuggets to the buffalo like. He says,
Every bit of rubbish represents more than just a needless burden on the forest. Rubbish is also a serious source of danger for all of nature. Humans, animals, and plants are damaged. And there's even a chance that toxic substances might penetrate the groundwater. Burying rubbish is not a solution to the problem, because wild animals might very well dig it up again and become injured or poisoned by it. Every bit of rubbish should be collected and removed from the training area in specially provided containers. In short, take away everything you brought with you. The taxpayer provides us with a maneuver damage budget, and every military member is a taxpayer. So in the end, it's your money you're wasting. The seas of the world represent a virtually inexhaustible reservoir of vital water. This is the only water source we have, and it has had to take a lot of punishment over the course of generations. However, the sea's self-cleaning powers have reached their limit. We have got to take action. This is particularly true for the transport of oil on the high seas. As already pointed out, every drop of oil, fuel, or any other chemical potentially contaminates our water reserves. The utmost caution is absolutely vital when handling such materials. Any little act of carelessness here can have disastrous consequences. This is why the naval powers take many preventive measures to ensure that the ocean will not continue to be burdened. But it's so easy to endanger this priceless water. Each and every one of us must make sure that not one drop of a hazardous substance gets into the waters of the sea. This is the only way to preserve the oceans for the generations to come.
Halt! Lappen nicht Außenbord schmeißen! Da steht die Pütz! Jawohl, Herr Obermann!
Every assault on our virgin territories represents an added burden on the ecological balance. Maneuvers and field exercises can have a tremendous impact indeed. Every year, large-scale maneuvers are held in Europe. Heavy military convoys do considerable visible damage to large areas. These exercises hurt nature and annoy the civilian population so much that the people responsible have their hands full keeping this damage down to a minimum. This is why every service member, officer, and enlisted must be reminded of their responsibility to help maintain our environment. During maneuvers, live ammunition is used in designated areas. There is always the possibility that some unexploded shells get left behind. Allow only trained personnel to handle unexploded ordnance. These may contain hazardous substances which contaminate the groundwater. They can be lethal for animals as well. Humans are also put at risk. All of us must be aware of our personal responsibility. A healthy awareness of the environment will also lead to a fuller understanding of what it is we're defending. After all, it's ultimately a question of our world surviving. Which is why special troops set out to locate the unexploded shells and remove them correctly or detonate them safely. This behavior is irresponsible, but it has certainly happened often enough in the past. Today, it is against the regulations, and offenders are justifiably subject to severe disciplinary measures. Camouflage is important and can be vital, but the right kind of camouflage is also vital for the forest. Whenever possible, avoid damage to living vegetation.
Oh, stop! Die boom niet afhakken. Hier ligt genoeg materiaal op de grond, takken en stokken die jullie kunnen gebruiken voor camouflage. Oké? Daar ligt er een. Hier ligt genoeg materiaal.
Changing scenes. a military training area in Scotland. Used as a farmland when firing is not in progress. There are regulations in which safety precautions concerning man and beast are set out in detail. Even so, special problems do arise. For instance, when a Milan missile is fired. The missile guide wires are as thin as a piece of cotton thread and represent a lethal danger to the animal world. Working according to regulations not only increases personal and military safety, it also makes a significant contribution to the preservation of the environment.
La position bilan est nettoyée, tous les fils sont rentrés. Merci, vous rejoignez votre peloton. Rien à vous attendre, merci.
Comprehensive practical training of recruits should cover not only correct weapon handling, but also consideration for nature and the environment around them.
In che modo l'operazione tagliamento pulito può essere fatta?
Faremo 2 o 3 cantieri di lavoro.
The Army renders assistance when civilian activities lack sufficient personnel and means to deal with environmental damage.
Vedete un po' cosa succede, più avanti, più avanti, più avanti. È un'altra operazione. Dove c'è il fulvio?
It is not one of the Army's primary tasks to provide special equipment and men. On the other hand, this denotes the sense of responsibility of a modern Army towards the environment, a challenge to every single service member. Hence, cooperation between military and civilian activities is a valuable contribution to preservation of the environment. If unforeseeable events pose a threat to the environment, mountain rescue services and the military work hand in hand. In severe winter weather, the Army relieves civilian activities of the task of transporting supplies to animals in areas which are difficult to reach. Disturbing the balance of nature can have catastrophic results for everybody. Wrongly interfering with nature leads to long-term damage. Training exercises in correct treatment of the environment must be held regularly.
Plotone, alto! Primo plotone, togliersi l'uniforme bianca da sciatone. Primo plotone, riposo!
A mountainside needs additional protection from water, ice, and wind. The roots of plants, large rocks, and irregular surface structure help to counter the threat of erosion. It is thus imperative to protect the soil and vegetation from damage of any kind. This is the only way to preserve the beauty of nature for future generations.
Cosa fai? Sai che queste altezze servono 40 anni perché si riformi quell'erba?
Oddio, non ci ho pensato.
Noise is a fact of life. Noise is disturbing, but it can be minimized. Our military policies recognize that fact. For example, overflying large communities is simply not permitted. Even in less densely populated areas, regulations regarding minimum altitudes must be strictly observed.
And carry on with the mission. Anybody have any questions?
No.
Ultimately, it comes down to the individual's sense of responsibility nurtured by each and every pilot. The bottom line is what we are defending: a healthy, clean environment in a world worth living in. It's always worth reminding ourselves that we are only temporary guests on this planet. The responsibility for making sure that future generations will find an Earth fit to live on lies squarely on our shoulders. It's an undeniable fact that we did not inherit this world from our ancestors. We just borrowed it from our children. It is thus our duty to preserve it for them. It depends on every individual service member, regardless of nationality. It depends on us all, on you, on each and every one of us.